Hi everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA with me, Seamus Brady, your host, and for this one I am joined by Seán Ryan from the GAA Room. In this video we are going to give a full preview of all the action which will be taking place in Gaelic football in round 3 of the Allianz Football League 2023. Seán, we had two great rounds of action in the Allianz Football League in 2023 before obviously the week break last week for the hurling, but we're back now. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, Seamus. First of all, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm glad now the week is finished, or the week break. After this weekend, we'll kind of have a better view on how teams are going to be doing, if teams are going to be fighting for relegation or if teams are going to be fighting for promotion after, say, this weekend. I'm kind of expecting it to be a bit more crisper, kind of the quality to go up a small bit. The weather should be getting up or get a bit better a small bit as well. Kind of the lads are playing this week now, have been playing. They have a week off there to kind of sharpen up and all. So I'd say they're mad for action as well.
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, I completely agree. I feel like this week in particular, the table will really take shape. We'll know who's fighting relegation, who's going for promotion, who's going for the league title. We're going to start with Division 1. We're going to start with, in order, games that are on Saturday and then on the Sunday. This one is on Saturday evening, Mayo against Kerry in McHale Park in Castlebar. I mean, the rivalry between these two counties. Mayo have had quite an interesting start to life under Kevin McStay. 2 draws to Galway and then to Armagh. Kerry obviously coming to this game fresh off the back of a very impressive victory over Monaghan. But before that, they had lost to Donegal. How are you seeing these two sides coming into this? Obviously, Kerry, a lot of names missing in those 2 games. How are you seeing them, man?
Yeah, well, I've seen a few whispers around Twitter that Seán O'Shea and David Clifford will be making a return to the panel. So you wouldn't really still expect them to start, but that they would be going to Castlebar. You kind of expect Paddy Clifford to be starting, who done well when he came on there against Monaghan. I am really looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be really high intensity. You said McStay there. Mayo got their draws. They got a last kick of the game to draw against Galway, and then Armagh to get a last kick of the game to draw as well. I can't really see, or kind of, it's hard to see who's going to win this. I think like Kerry haven't had a good start, but I think this is more than the league. This game is to do more with the league. This is to do with if Jack O'Connor thinks that Mayo are a legitimate contenders of the All Ireland come whenever, June, July, that this will be something that you can look back on, and this is something that you can kind of put your foot down and say, look, lads, we bet these in McHale Park. I think it's going to be really good atmosphere. I think a lot of people are going to go see it, and I'm just really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the atmosphere for the game against Galway would look class. This one as well. I mean, Mayo people just have just as much rivalry, I would say, towards Kerry, considering, the matches between them in the All-Ireland finals, the All-Ireland semi-finals down through the years. There's been a feature now with Mayo in their last few games, I'd have to say, is that obviously they're sticking with Conor Loftus at centre-half back, which I am finding interesting. Personally, right now, I don't think they should stick with that for the championship. I feel like they need to put Stephen Cohen there, especially with Oisin Mullen being gone. But they're going to keep doing that with him, I imagine, in this game. Aidan O'Shea as well. His performances coming off the bench, he's been really, really good. Cillian O'Connor as well. He's made an impact when he's come on both games. Do you feel like O'Connor and O'Shea should maybe start this game if Mayo are looking for a victory, or should McStay keep going with the team that he's kind of gone with so far?
I think O'Shea should be anyway. I think McStay has come out and said, this is before he said was the Mayo manager. He said that he feels that Aidan O'Shea was wasted nearly in the middle of the field, that he should be a full forward. And I feel that
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think he's getting a small bit older now, and I think that you need to also think that, or bring that into consideration. I feel that if he's in full forward, I think if you're any of the fullbacks, doesn't matter if you're the fullback, you're the best fullback in the country, you're going to have to think about it. You're not going to be, this is going to be a walk in the park. He's a big target man. I know you should be expecting him to get a few scores. I think that when he was, say, midfield or centre forward or full forward, he was constantly being changed back and forth. I think McStay needs to stick him in one position, keep him in that position, and then he'll know and he'll feel a bit better, and might even try and practice kicking these scores over the bar, but hit the ball into him. you have Killian O'Connor if he comes on, or Ryan O'Donoghue, you give the ball back off to them, and those boys can stick it over the bar as well. So I think there's some, you can obviously still bring him out to the midfield the odd time, but I see more as a full forward man, and to switch it up sometimes, bring him out to midfield, try and get on the ball a bit more, depending on how the game goes. So yeah, I would like to see him. I think if you see him full forward on the program, say come Saturday, I think a lot of people will be looking at and be kind of smiling, thinking like, oh, this could get a bit interesting.
Yeah, without doubt, especially if Jason Foley's marking him. I mean, a guy who did an amazing job on Damien Comer last year and just was an outstanding fullback throughout the entire championship. I feel like, look, if they're going to put him in there and they're going to put him a full forward and they're going to back that, please, for the love of God, kick some good ball into him, because the way that he was threat at full forward under Stephen Rochford, under James Horn, the game that stands out to me in particular is against Dublin in 2015, where they put him full forward. He had at least 2 men marking him at all times, and they were firing the worst ball up to him. Ball was coming down with snow on it because they kicked it so high. It was just the most aimless, well, he's 6'5", so he should catch that anyway type of ball. No, you need to use it wisely. The type of ball that Dublin kick into Conor O'Callaghan, that type of ball, the type of ball that Kerry kick into David Clifford, ball that is made for the forward to win it. Not one that he has to, the ball that is made for the forward just to catch it, not even necessarily one that he has to go and win it. But yeah, I would back him to be definitely a brilliant target man if they play that way. For Kerry on the flip side, Dave obviously found, new stars there, as if they didn't need any new forwards. But the likes of Dara Roach and Donald O'Sullivan have looked fantastic. Are you expecting big things from them again in this game?
It's hard to know. It's hard to know who's going to be playing. So say you have half time or something, or say if you do, if from what we're hearing is that Seán O'Shea and David Clifford are coming, that it's hard to be the star man when there's so many kind of world beaters in the team. I think I really like to look at Dara Roach, especially against Donegal. I know it was a loss, but he's a strong lad. I was constantly saying it to lads I was watching. I was like, this lad looks like an absolute unit. And then Donald Sullivan getting 1-3 against Monaghan was looking also very impressive. So there's probably a lot of these lads would be looking to get these spots. There wouldn't be that many spots going in a Kerry team, so this is their chance to stand out. So they may or may not be able to get their spot come championship, but they're definitely going to try, because everyone who is from Kerry who plays football wants to be in that starting 15 come All-Ireland semi-final day, All-Ireland final day. Oh,
100%. I mean, in my opinion, there's 2 spots that will open up in the Kerry forward line over the next 2 years. I think Stephen O'Brien and Paul Gainey, I feel like their kind of time with Kerry is starting to, reach its twilight, in my opinion. And I feel like, look, Dara Roach, Donald O'Sullivan are 2 in particular that are really impressing me and looking like definite tips for the future. So then decision time. Obviously, Mayo have had back-to-back draws, Kerry a loss and then a victory. Which one would you be kind of looking at a little bit more going into this game as the winners?
Originally on my notes, I had Mayo to win it. I think it being in McHale Park, and depending on what the weather is going to be like, I think if it's lashing rain, I don't know if that will suit Mayo more or not. But the more I kind of have discussed it, I'm going to go. Well, no, actually, I'll stick with Mayo. I was going to say a draw, but I think Mayo, they have this certain bit of madness when they play football, and it sometimes can work against them. It sometimes can work for them, and depending on what team Kerry plays, I think if they're not the experienced lads or not the lads that are used to this intensity, I think Mayo will be able to capitalise on that. So maybe it's because I want Mayo to win more, but I also give them a good chance, even though they're not the favourites. But if I had a tenner to put a bet on, I'd probably back it on Mayo.
Yeah, well, one of us is going to be wrong then. I'm going Kerry.
I just feel a draw, and we're both wrong.
A draw, yeah, we're both wrong. I'm just going to go Kerry. I feel like the momentum that they're going to carry in from the Monaghan games, there's a feel-good factor around them now. Like Paddy Clifford's goal in that game was beautiful. Yeah. We'll completely bypass the fact that there wasn't a single hand laid on him in the entire run. But, I mean, in terms of a victory, Kerry have got one. Mayo battled, against Armagh and Galway. You could argue better teams than Kerry have faced in Donegal and Monaghan so far. So, yeah, there is obviously a route there to victory for Mayo, but I'm going to just go with Kerry narrowly in this one by a point or 2. The next game, then Galway against Tyrone in Tuam. Now, both these sides have been beaten by Roscommon in previous rounds. Galway drew at Mayo in the first round. Tyrone bounced back and looked very, very impressive, beating Donegal, obviously, in the last round of fixtures. You know, like Tyrone have had already such a weird year when you think about it. Like, they looked pretty good at the start of the McKenna Cup. There was obviously a lot of positivity around the likes of Rory Canavan coming into the panel. And now they lost to Derry in the McKenna Cup final. A pitiful performance. Then they lose to Roscommon, and everyone's saying, what is going on with Tyrone? Like, so many players have left the camp since the All-Ireland victory. And then how quickly things can change in a week. Suddenly they beat Donegal. Everyone's singing their praises. They looked really, really good. And now they go into this game against Galway in Tuam with a lot more people giving them a chance now than they would have last week.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think the fact that on the very first week when we didn't know too much about Roscommon and they lost Roscommon, everyone was like, Jesus, Tyrone must be in an awful way. And then they go out and beat Donegal by 8 points, was it?
Yeah.
Or 6? Yeah, 8 points, yeah. And blew them out of the park. And that was after Donegal getting a last kick of the ball over the bar to beat the All-Ireland champions. And I thought, all right, this could be, this probably you think at that time, Tyrone losing to Roscommon, Donegal beating Kerry, you would expect then Donegal going by the last game to push on and beat Tyrone comfortably enough. But to lose by 8 points was massive. I think Tyrone aren't as bad as a place. I think we shouldn't sleep on Roscommon after those two games. I like, it was a point I think they lost. It was lost to Roscommon. It wasn't that much. And so I think they're in a decent enough place. I don't think they're as bad as we thought originally.
And sorry to cut across.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Do you remember that moment where Darren McCurry lost the ball right in front of the goalkeeper? When Tyrone were a goal up.
Yeah.
Darren McCurry had that goal chance. He let it slip between his fingers. I think if he puts that in the back of net, I think Tyrone go on and win that game. So I completely agree with you that they weren't as bad as people think. Roscommon just were brilliant. Yeah.
No, 100%. Like I know we'll get on to Roscommon, but I do like to look at them as well. But overall, I know we're going to go through the kind of who we're picking, but a spoiler alert is that I do think Tyrone are looking a lot better in this fixture than Galway are.
Yeah, Galway, have they not impressed you so far? Like, what has it been? Obviously, Robert Finnerty's injury, like Damien Comer now as well.
I think it's Comer. Like, I think it's like okay, you don't have Shane Walsh, obviously because he's taking a break, but then Comer goes down, and he's luckily enough he's not missing the whole year, but he's going to miss the majority of the league. Like Galway they've 1 point. I know that they lost to Roscommon and they drew to Mayo. I think they're in a worse state. I think, like, especially losing to Roscommon losing to Roscommon and drawing to Mayo. Like, those are your two opponents in Connacht, and you're playing both of them, all three of them are on the same side. So you want to be in the league playing these two teams, and you want to be beating them because you want to become Connacht Championship and be like, lads, we've beaten these before. This is it. We can do this again. But when you draw to Roscommon, you draw to Mayo, I'm getting mixed up here. When you draw to Mayo and you lose to Roscommon, that's a massive blow for your provincial rivals, I think. Mm-hmm. So I do think I do think they will improve. Of course, they're going to improve. They'll have Shane Walsh coming back, and they will have Comer back eventually whenever he does get whenever his injury does pass. So, like, it's not the end of the world, but I think at this very moment in time, I would definitely go on the side of Tyrone.
Yeah, I'm going to back you there as well. I think Tyrone just carrying that bit of momentum. Galway, though, you could argue maybe are back to the wall after the Roscommon defeat. And maybe they could come out swinging, because the last time, to my knowledge, that Tyrone went to Galway blew them away. There was 2019 or 2020 in the league. That was right at the start of the Pádraig Joyce era with Galway. Yeah. So maybe an omen there that they could do it again. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
There's something like they racked up 426 or something. It was a crazy scoreline that they put up. So Galway could blow Tyrone away. Like, they really could. But I'm just right now with Comer's injury, Finnerty's injury, no Kieran Malloy, no Liam Silk. I'm looking at this, I'm just thinking, I think Tyrone have actually more lads available to them, which is mad when you're talking about how many players have left the Tyrone panel. But I do think They're looking good, and I'm going to go with them to get a narrow victory away in Tuam. We talked about the team that's riding high at the moment, Roscommon. They go up against Armagh next in Dr. Hyde Park. And I actually think this is a mouth-watering clash between these two, because Armagh, I have to say, at the start of the league, I tipped Armagh to win it. And the reason is because I thought Kerry don't have the Cliffords at the start. They don't have Seán O'Shea at the start. They look a bit further off this year from where they were last year. And I was saying Dublin aren't in Division 1 anymore, obviously, as we know. Tyrone, we don't know what's going on with them. Mayo were under new management. I was saying Armagh are the only team to me that looks at 100% strength, ready to go. And I'm saying Kieran McGeeney has been in the job since 2015. He would love nothing more than to have a bit of silverware in the cabinet, to mark his tenure with this Armagh team. Because it's been a long one now. It's been a long one that he's been there as Armagh boss. They haven't even gotten to an Ulster final. So he wants to add some silverware, no doubt. They start off the league by beating Monaghan, and I was thinking, okay, good start. For long spells against Mayo, Mayo looked like they had them, and then they've managed to fight back and get the draw. But having seen how Mayo got a hold of them for so long in that game, I'm not as confident in my prediction.
Yeah, Armagh are one of these teams that I love watching. I think this game is actually could be the best game of the weekend, even though there's so many good games that are going to be on TV. And even I know we're talking about Kerry and Mayo, but I think this one actually might even be a better one, depending on how we go. Mm-hmm. Armagh are a team that there's someone who just needs to find that bit of consistency. They can play on real football, they can play class football, but the issue is finding that consistency. It's similar to Roscommon, but we'll get to them. But I feel that they have Ethan Rafferty in goals, so obviously it's very exciting to watch him coming out and getting a few scores and giving lovely balls in. Rian O'Neill in the full forward, Stephen Campbell in the midfield. They have these kind of very, very good players in their panel. They just need to find that bit of consistency. I think they could be a top team and consistently be a top team. But before you need to do that, not one game you play class and the next game you play really badly. You need to do that for your 60 or 70 minutes. Never mind having each game need to be consistent. You need to be consistent for that one game, because they look unreal. And then exactly what happened in Mayo, or what happened in Armagh against Mayo, was that, foot off the throttle. And I was the same. I was like, this game's over. Mayo has this one. And then all of a sudden they pick back up, and the kind of the craziness of Mayo and the craziness of Armagh, that's maybe one of the things, because both of them can be a bit intense.
Both of them never do it easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing. Armagh were, I know they got 17 points against Mayo, and they were kicking some lovely scores, but then struggling sometimes to take the easy options. Sometimes, so it really is finding that bit of consistency. But they are a team that I really like to watch, and they're really fun, and their fans, seeing the sea of orange kind of in the stadiums is also very enjoyable.
Yeah, no, there's a unique feel to Armagh, no doubt. The orange jerseys and just their teams of the 2000s, and the confidence that they had, and the confidence that this team has carried into this team with the likes of Rian O'Neill, that kind of, not in a bad way, but I get this vibe off the likes of Rian O'Neill that he knows he's good. He knows how good he is, and they take on the most audacious shots. That shot that he took on against Dublin, if you remember, the one where he was right underneath the Hogan stand, and he took on a shot from right on the sideline and just swung it over, no bother to him. I like watching those types of teams. I do. I like watching Rafferty come out a goal and score 2 points from open play against Tyrone. It would never have thought that you would have seen that, in 2010, 2011, when Cluxton taking frees was something that was a bit, what's the goalkeeper doing here? But Armagh definitely are innovating it in one way. I didn't give enough credit to Roscommon in my intro to this game. They have started the league with a bang. Davy Burke coming in, I have to say, was a managerial appointment that I liked right from the start. You're bringing in someone that doesn't deserve the credit. No, sorry, isn't getting the credit that he deserves. And when you look at what he did with Kildare under-20s All-Ireland winner, Wicklow, got them up to Division 3, and he was making real progress with them. And then, the success that he's had with colleges and stuff like that, Davy Burke is a very good appointment. Comes in, and I had no doubt that he was going to be determined to stop the yo-yo effect with Roscommon of going up as champions and going straight back down to Division 2 the year after. And to beat Tyrone and to beat Galway back-to-back, hugely impressive. To beat Galway away.
Yeah, I really like Davy Burke, but probably there's a bit of experience there, as in back when I was home back in Ireland during COVID times, my home football club, we actually got Davy Burke in to take a few sessions and to come to a few of the senior games. I wasn't on the senior team, but we got him to take a few training sessions, and there was around 50 lads on the pitch, including myself. And for a good, I'd say 15 or 20 minutes, he just put a little square and one person with a football and one person not, and see using your body physically and tackling. And the intensity he brought, and he had all these 50 lads clinging on to every single one of his words. I thought that this lad was one of the best trainers I've ever had, and in hurling our football, and he only came in for a few sessions. But as soon as I saw that for Roscommon, I saw that this is when he was with Wicklow. I'm from near the Meath Kildare border, so it wasn't too far for him to come. If he was coming from Maynooth, I think it is. But then he got snubbed from the Kildare job, and when I heard, this was after that, but when I heard, Jesus, this lad seems very, very good. And then he went to Roscommon, and it's obviously, I feel he's having the same effect of that Roscommon team that he did in my home club with the 50 lads on the pitch, that all these lads are really believing what he's into and exactly buying into everything. And rightly so. I think, like, you see it. You see the first two wins, they're top of the table. Like, they're after having some serious wins here now. And I like seeing them going. They're similar to Armagh in terms of they needing that consistency. What you said, their yo-yo situation. You know, it's all well and good getting up to Division 1, but if you want to compete with the big boys, if you want to be in there, getting to the All-Ireland quarter-final, semi-final, and even go on further, you need to be consistently staying up in Division 1. There's no point, because when you get relegated, you see the likes of Kildare getting relegated at the moment. You know, they go down and kind of everything hits the fan. So I feel like this could be this and keep this consistency up. And all of a sudden, we were looking at the Connacht side of the three teams in the championship. You were thinking, okay, it's rather going to be Galway or Mayo, but now there's definitely no reason at the moment where you could say it's rather going to be Galway, Mayo, or Roscommon that are going to get to the Connacht final.
Agreed. I mean, you look at, and on top of that, with Davy Burke, he's already rooted out a few gems. I mean, the likes of Dara Craig, we all knew Dara Craig was going to come through, but the main one for me is Ben O'Carroll. He's been so impressive in the first two games.
Yeah, like it seems like a real team effort, but then also getting those individuals out and trying to, because they have a good pool of talent, Roscommon. They've always had sometimes, like, you know, but it's about utilizing them and getting them to step up the most, you know. So that's how I see it. And I feel Davy could be a good man that would individually go to these lads, and he'd be a good team manager, but individually kind of getting these lads and having a plan for them and saying, this is what I want you for, and this is what I need you for, and you can do it. Kind of, you know, he seems like a very positive person to me, that he wants that, like, when it comes to face-to-face people anyway, and the way he talks. So yeah, 100%.
No doubt. So decision time going into this game, obviously Roscommon against Armagh, two sides that it's fair to say have been on the come up. Roscommon now have made a real burst. Armagh, you could argue, a little bit more established in terms of this particular team. Definitely McGeeney has had his feet under the table way longer than Davy Burke has with Roscommon. Who are we backing here? This is a really, really hard one to call.
The fact that it's in Dr. Hyde Park, I think, is massive. I think the wind in that place, and there will be a good crowd going to it. I think a lot of people are going to be excited. There's going to be a lot of Roscommon. There'll be a good few Armagh going as well. I think this is going to be a great atmosphere to the game, but I am going to go with Roscommon, but only slightly, only just about to beat, because Armagh, if Armagh can get that consistency throughout the whole game, well, then Armagh is going to win. But I feel like there are going to be stages, like as we've seen in the Mayo game, where they kind of take the foot off the pedal, and I think Roscommon will have no problem, and they'll know that could happen after seeing the Mayo game, and it's like, okay, this is our time now to properly go for it, and then maybe there mightn't be a time to come back like there was against Mayo for Armagh. So I do think Roscommon, but just slightly.
Yeah, it's a really difficult one to call. I have to say, I pick Galway to beat them. I thought Galway would get the job done. I don't want to make the same mistake again and back against them. I really don't. But Armagh just are so good going forward. It's such a hard one to look past Armagh. Do you know what? I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go with a very entertaining, very back and forth draw. I'm going to go with a game where both teams could win. But I'm going to say a late point from either Roscommon or Armagh will tie it up. sit right on the fence for that one.
But nice.
The last game then on Sunday, Monaghan against Donegal in Clonus, and this one for me is the most consequential game of the weekend, because I do firmly believe that, look, while Donegal, yes, they did beat Kerry in the opening round, I do think that the worrying sign, particularly against Tyrone, was that for large parts they looked absolutely toothless up front. They looked like they'd no idea how to get past Tyrone's defence. They were taking pot shots from long distances out, and when they weren't coming off, they looked like they'd no ideas. And coming into this game against Monaghan, yes, while Monaghan have lost the first two games, they've looked good going forward. The likes of Stephen O'Hanlon, the likes of Conor McCarthy, we haven't even seen the likes of Conor McManus come into the panel yet this year. Yes, Monaghan have lost their first two games, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, if they're going to beat anyone in Division 1, they should be eyeing up Donegal, especially in Clonus, especially with home advantage. A Donegal side that's, coming in with their tail between their legs after getting, a bit of a beating off Tyrone. I do genuinely believe whoever loses this, I'd put them into one of the relegation playoffs. I'd put it as that consequential of a game.
100%. This is more or less like a relegation playoff. There's a lot riding on this for both teams. Vinnie Corey, the new manager, also my former school teacher. I don't know why there's so far these Division 1 managers that have some personal experience with them. But Vinnie, after the Kerry game, after on the Sunday game on the interview, Vinnie Corey says, we're not panicking yet, but then went back to the studio and said, he's saying he's not panicking, but, he feels like maybe he would, the way they carried themselves against Kerry, I know it's Kerry, and Kerry after losing Donegal, we're looking to kind of get back into it, but we're going to go back to that Paddy Clifford goal. It was an unreal goal, but it was, I never see, nobody touched him. He went from his own 65 all the way to the goal without anyone touching him, and all this space open up, but it Monaghan are also one of these teams though, but we talk about our man Roscommon being inconsistent. I think Monaghan are one of these teams that have been in the past good few years consistent in Division 1. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like that they're still working, they're still going to go. So I think this game is going to be very close.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree with your point about the Paddy Clifford goal. I'd be very worried for how they are going forward in the future, because Malachy O'Rourke's Monaghan teams, Paddy Clifford wouldn't even have made it to the halfway line if he tried running from his own. That type of thing. The way he was able to run through there, unheard of for past Monaghan teams. Their defence, Vinnie Corey ironically was the centre back. He was the absolute anchor of that team, and they had the likes of Drew Wiley, Colin Walsh. They're all gone now. So it is a new Monaghan team, and you're looking at them and thinking, teams in transition have tended to be relegated from Division 1 over the last few years, because it is too cutthroat. You lose 4 games, you're gone. You don't tend to win. They've already lost 2, and Donegal are coming to this game knowing that they need to pick up another win to save themselves. Monaghan can't keep relying on Jack McCarron to kick a last-minute winner to keep them in the division. They've been like a cat with their 9 lives now over the last few years. I don't know who I'm going to win this game. I really don't. You see, Monaghan have shown me a bit more flair, a bit more ideas going forward than Donegal have. But then again, McBrearty might just put on a masterclass and pull out the points for Donegal. I think this one again is a very hard one to call.
I think Donegal have there are a few new young lads. I have them down in my notes. I'm looking down here. Quaylan McColgan, Conor O'Donnell, Johnny McGroody. During the Kerry game, anyway, when I was doing a live stream for it, they had some very impressive young talent. So you could argue there's some lads also that need to you're looking at these young lads when realistically they mightn't be completely up to that physicality level of Division 1. I agree with you then as well with the Monaghan. It's both teams probably aren't looking the best at the moment, and both are looking a bit in transition, and it's incredibly hard to call. I'm actually going to think I do think this game. I have Donegal originally, but I do think this game is going to be a draw, especially that's in Clonus. 2 Ulster teams going at it. I think a draw might seem a bit more of a safe bet than actually it is. So yeah, I think actually this could be a draw, and then who knows? Then we'll get relegated then from that.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go Monaghan. I think backs against the wall time. I'm just gonna I'm going to go with them. I'm going to say, look, they have to get a victory, and I think they have tended to put up a fight in Division One. I can't see Monaghan going down, losing all 7 games, so they're going to win one, and I think it might be this one. So that's Division One wrapped up. We're going to move down to Division Two, and starting with what I think is the most interesting game of the weekend, your own county here, Meath, going away to Owen Beg to face Derry. Now, at the start of the league, even though O'Rourke has come in, at the very beginning of the league, I would have looked at this game and said, well, that's one that Meath won't win. But actually, having seen the opening 2 games for both of these teams, Derry didn't look impressive at all against Louth. And they had a lot of players out there. They had all the Glen lads. They had Doherty. They had Conor Glass. They had Shane McGuigan. They had McCabe. They had Brendan Rodgers. And they relied on a late Niall Toner goal to turn that game around. On top of that, the first game against Limerick, everybody knew that they were going to win that one. Meath, on the other hand, have torn Cork apart with goals and then torn Clare apart for goals. Against Derry, that's really interesting because Derry's defence is their calling card. This is a really, really interesting game now for me because Meath have looked better than I thought they would, and Derry have looked worse than I thought they would.
You seem a small bit more confident than I am. I 100% agree with you. I like Derry struggled and got over the line with Louth, but sometimes that might happen. With O'Rourke, I went to the Meath Clare game when I was back home 2 weeks ago, and he's bringing in this completely new style of play. I do love to see it, and was asking people who were at the game what they thought as well. And everyone was like, Jesus, I know, like, really nice play. Now the goals, if they were against a better opposition, they wouldn't have happened. One was a sloppy kick out from the Clare keeper, went straight to the Meath lad, was back of the net, and then 30 seconds later, another goal happened then as well. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm actually going to miss it. I'm going to miss it, so I'm nearly going to record it and delete Twitter and WhatsApp and everything and wait till Sunday morning to watch, because I do really want to watch this game. Something from Meath, their defending has been poor. Their defending has been, there's no doubt about it. I feel like against Cork, they conceded 22 points, and against Clare, I think they conceded 16 or 17 points as well, which Clare were not looking good that day at all. But Meath, they got 3 goals at the very start, and all of a sudden the foot was off the pedal. They couldn't score for ages. They couldn't get by. I don't know what was going on. What they're doing is they're kicking the ball a lot more. They're kicking the ball, so a ball will come into a corner forward or a wing forward. Whoever would get it would run for goal. A Clare lad would be standing there, and they just stop and turn around and hand pass the ball off again. And that's coming back from last year and the last 5 or 6 years under McEntee, where McEntee was completely, do not lose this ball, keep possession. Yeah. When now you can see O'Rourke is encouraging boys to be like, go for it. So sometimes you did see it where boys were going. Obviously they got the 7 goals, I'm pretty sure, in the last 2 games. So they obviously are going for it. I feel like this is going to be a bit tougher. Cork's defence and Clare's defence were not that great. Like, some goals were good for Meath, but both defences weren't that good. I think Derry will, especially at its own Beg, from years of experience of Meath travelling to places they've never done too well. They've done better now. Going down to Cork was obviously really, really good. I do feel like Derry, it's in their own Beg. I don't think Meath will be able to get through that defence. I don't. And Meath's defence haven't been that great. I think Derry will be able to utilise on that and be able to punish that. I really hope I'm wrong here, but I'm probably not as confident seeing the 2 games and kind of following it closely, even though maybe the score lines seem better, but like when you actually dig into it, that the defending was very poor, and some of the goals, the defending was very, very poor on Meath's side, but then their opponents' defending was very poor, and I feel they're not going to be able to do that kick passing in Derry as much. They're not going to be able to be as free and as they'd like to. All I can hope for is that it's a good game. That's the main thing. If Meath stay close, if they even stay a small bit close throughout the whole game, well, then you're it's a very happy loss. I feel like, okay, Jesus, we can, like, because Ulster, well, before the league, Ulster were favourites to win, or Derry were favourites to win Ulster. So I feel if you can see yourself, Meath, especially a team that have been very poor. I've been very like this is.
Mhm.
My heart is like I've been very sad the last few years as a Meath fan, but if you see that you can go down to Owenbeg and give at least a competitive game, then I feel like you're flying. Then for the rest of it, you can still have a chance of maybe sneaking something in Division 2, or maybe getting that second spot, possibly. But it's a big possibly.
Yeah, like, look, honestly, I give them way more of a chance of winning this game than I would have at the start. I think Derry have looked like they let Louth get very close to them. I know that was in RD, but Derry had pretty much everyone available to them on that game, and they still managed to make a meal out of that game. Look, that's not taken away from Louth. We'll get on to them. They've looked better than I thought they have, better than I thought they would in both of those games. But I am going to go with a narrow Derry victory based off what you said with when it comes to the defence. Derry won't concede 4 goals to me.
No,
maybe I'll be made to eat my hat, but like they're not going to. Derry's defence is so good, and Meath haven't shown me enough of a point kicking variety. Like they haven't, to my knowledge, they only scored 8 points against Clare. That's not going to cut it against Derry when Derry shut down your goal threats. Whereas Derry, on the other hand, Shane McGuigan is a consistent score getter for them. I'm going to go with Derry to win, not prettily though. I'm going to go with something like a 112 to 10 point, or like something that's low scoring enough. Derry to get the victory.
I hope I'm wrong. I'm the same, but even a slight victory for Derry, I'd be very happy. And maybe I'm being too pessimistic as a Meath fan. Usually, like, maybe I'm just like, I don't want to get on the hype train just as much yet. If we beat Derry, I'll be back on it, and I'll be saying we'll be getting in Division 1 next year. But at the same time, it's not a massive deal if Meath don't get in Division 1, because O'Rourke's brand new to it. You don't want to go in Division 1 too early. If you have your 3-year plan, you don't want to go in too early, and then all of a sudden you come back down and everything's lost. That happened with Meath. Back in 2019, I think they got in Division 1 and came straight back down, and then it was a complete mess from there. So, like, I don't see this as being, we have to get into Division 1. It would also, like, if we got in Division 1, I'd love it, but it's not a big deal either. I feel if we could compete, and if you got third, I'd be very happy at the end of the league.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. So Derry, but hoping that we're wrong, because I'd really like to see Meath come back strong as well. Moving on to the next game then, Louth against Limerick in RD. So this one, obviously a rematch of the Division 3 final from last year. 2 teams that have been hotly tipped for relegation. Louth, though, in my opinion, have shown way stronger signs than Limerick have. I'm going to go with Louth to win this game based off of how close they came to Clare and Derry.
Yeah, didn't Clare score, I think, was it 4 points in the last?
4 in a row in additional time to win it.
Yeah, in additional time. And then, as you said, they lost by a goal. Was it a goal to Derry? Possibly.
Yeah, no, it was, I think, yeah.
Yeah, like, so they're not, like, I think Mickey, I do really like what Mickey Hart is doing, and it is promising. I feel that they have been a bit unfortunate. You definitely could see this as being the 2 teams that get relegated. Possibly not. There are other teams in the league that aren't going too well in Division 2. Like Louth, they could beat Limerick, and then they're not. It's not the easiest place to go to. Like in RDE, Louth aren't. There won't be any. Mickey Hart will make sure that there are no pushovers. I'm talking about like in the future. I'm not talking about this particular game. I do think Louth will win this. I think Limerick, they've done well. They've done well to get to Division 2, but I feel like when you see the other teams in Division 3 and who's there kind of needing to get in Division 2, I feel like Limerick will go down and it would be the favourites. Louth, possibly not, but this is the chance for Louth to kind of pick it up and kind of see what they can do and see if they can get close of not getting relegation and get into that 6th spot even.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. Louth to win this one for me. A team that they could beat if this team carries on with their losing streak is actually remarkably Kildare, in my opinion. They go away to Clare, to Cusack Park in Ennis. All of a sudden, when you're talking the Dublin game, I thought, look, either Dublin are going backwards or Kildare are going forwards. And then they get blown away by Cork. Like, completely dominated in Newbridge. I did not see that one coming. And now they have to go away to Clare, a side that have consistently competed with Cork and beaten Cork over the last few years. And now they're going away to them. Like, all of a sudden, this is looking pretty ominous for Kildare if they don't turn it around.
This I think is actually one of the biggest games of the weekend. It's not just about the league at this point. These two teams at the moment are looking like they could be getting that sixth spot. And the way the All Ireland series is now, if you get the sixth spot, more than likely you won't be getting into the All Ireland. So you could possibly see Kildare here playing in the Tailteann Cup come summertime. And I feel they'll know that. But Clare will also feel to themselves that, they have 2 points on the board. And it's in a Cusack Park in Ennis. And they have a massive opportunity here to be like, we're not going to the Tailteann Cup. We're playing in the All Ireland this year. So I think this is a massive game. I think this is actually going to be a very interesting game. I don't really know who's going to win it. Like Kildare, as you said, getting hammered by Cork. I think that was probably the best performance of the league so far by Cork to get wiped by Meath and have a poor enough performance, and then go all the way up to Newbridge and hammer Kildare. And Kildare, they lose by a point to Dublin, and then you think, okay, geez, surely Kildare want to beat Cork here after Cork getting hammered by Meath, and Kildare only sticking to a point to Dublin, and it's in Newbridge. But it's just a bit all over the place. Kildare are a team that annoys me. I actually think Kildare have better footballers in their county than Meath do in terms of their top quality, their Flynns and whoever they have. I think they have a very, very, very good footballers, individual footballers that would do well on a lot of county teams in the country. But they annoy me because that doesn't translate onto the pitch, and that doesn't translate to the team performance as well. And that's maybe just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Kildare should be better than they actually are. And yeah, it's kind of hard to know what's going on.
Yeah, no, I think, look, I am going to go with Kildare to win this one. I think their back is against the wall. I think they will realise how important this game is, and I feel like they'll scrape a victory. But, oh my God, it's going to be tight. I mean, Clare are going to scrap for this one, no doubt. The team that we mentioned, obviously, the Kildare played against Dublin, they go away to Páirc Uí Chaoimh next. Now, they went, obviously, to the Gaelic grounds, got a victory there against Limerick, and then looked pretty unconvincing in beating Kildare on the opening day. Cork, on the flip side, looked, poor enough defensively against Meath, and then rock solid at the back against Kildare in the next game. Again, it's one of those where, how much a week can change things. I was looking at this at the start of the league saying Dublin are going to blast through, win all 7 games, in my opinion. Look, I still am backing Dublin to win this game, but I think it's going to be trickier than a lot of people think. Look at what Cork did with Dublin in the 2019 Super 8s. Cork just went for it, and it was a really, really, really good game. I think Cork have it in them to give Dublin a serious game here. I still think Dublin are going to win, but I don't think Cork will be any walkovers.
I think this could be like the first test for the Dubs. I know they only bet Kildare by a point, but I feel they didn't really even get out of a gear. They kind of stuck with second or third gear and didn't even bother moving out of it. I do feel that Cork, maybe we're seeing the inconsistency that we're talking about. The other teams that against Meath, they were poor. Against Kildare, they were very good. It's very hard. Division 2 is a very hard thing to see where teams are going. They can go and beat one team and lose very bad to another team, and then they could go out and play the Dubs on Sunday and give them a very good game. I agree with you. I still do think the Dubs are going to win, but I feel like there could be a bit of a test here. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I just want there to be a test, but I feel like the Dubs will, at some point, they won't be in control of the game now. If it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that they're not in control of the game. But I do think it could be, at times, a good game. I think, and I hope there is some sort of a good game, and to show the rest of Division 2 that maybe the Dubs mightn't walk it necessarily, but they probably will. But if Cork could show something, they might get belief from other teams in the division looking to get those spots as well.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see how they can do, but definitely for me, Dublin should be aiming for the victory here, no doubt. We'll move now to Division 3. The first game that is happening on the Saturday in Division 3 is Tipperary against Antrim in Semple Stadium in Thurles. So obviously Tipperary and Antrim, two sides that have obviously started the league off quite poorly. Tipperary losing back-to-back games. The first one obviously, the last one obviously was to Cavan. And Antrim, obviously, Andy McEntee there ties with Meath. He starts off by losing 2 on the bounce to Offaly and then to Down. However, their performance against Down looked pretty good. I'm going to go with, this is really hard to call because it's hard to know where they're both at. I'm going to go with a narrow Tipperary victory in this one. What are you thinking for it?
I probably would agree with you. The fact that it's in Semple Stadium as well might give that slight bit of advantage. It also, the more I think about it, then the more it's kind of hard. I could actually say a draw. Like Tipperary losing Conor Sweeney also is massive now. I know they lost to Cavan, they lost to Down, who are decent opposition. So yeah, I'd probably go with a draw. There's not too much else that you can actually say about this game. Both of them have had a poor start. You might think that Antrim might have been overachieving to get into Division 3, you could say, possibly. I would like to see Antrim do well. But yeah, probably the more I think about it, the more I go with Tip on this one, actually.
Yeah, agreed. The next game then in Division 3, Fermanagh against Down in St. Joseph's Park. Now, obviously, Fermanagh last week losing narrowly to Offaly. Down, on the other hand, a lot of good press about them. Conor Laverty coming in, back-to-back wins. Yes, the Antrim one was a lot closer than I thought it would be, and they definitely made it tougher for themselves than I thought they would. I am going to go with Down to continue the streak. I've picked Down to top this table. Going away to Fermanagh, though, is, to me, the litmus test for how real they are, because that is going to be a tough away day. And if Down come out with this with flying colours, yeah, then I'm all in on this.
Yeah, I actually have this down as a draw. I think this will actually be a very tough game. I feel Down, they bet Antrim by a point, and then they bet Tipperary only by a goal. I feel Down should be doing better than that, possibly. Maybe I'm just being a bit cynical. Fermanagh lost to Offaly. Offaly seemed to be going very well as well, and then they bet Antrim. These Division 3 games can be very hard to call. You kind of don't really know what they're going with.
They're all so even.
It's very even. The fact that it's in Fermanagh, I think, would be a huge boost. If Down do come through to it, I agree with you. If Down do come out of this with the win, they'll be looking very good to try and get to Division 2. So I actually think I'm going to go for a draw with this one. If I was doing my predictor, my GA predictor, I'd probably put this down as a draw.
Yeah, no, definitely. I could see that happening. I mean, it's going to be an absolute battle. The thing with the litmus test for me is if Down come out with this with flying colours, if Down win this by 6 points, 7 points, for me, then it's wrapped up. They're going to get promoted. Obviously, two teams that might have something to say about that are Westmeath and Offaly. They face each other in Cusack Park in Mullingar. Rematch of the Tailteann Cup semi-final of last year. Obviously, Westmeath went on to win the inaugural Tailteann Cup. Two teams that, Westmeath obviously started off not ideal, losing to Cavan, but then they blew Longford away. I mean, that was a fantastic second half performance by Westmeath. It was a real flex of their power that they have. Offaly, on the other hand, two very impressive victories, obviously against Antrim and Fermanagh, 2 victories away from home, and now against Westmeath. How are you giving their chances here?
I'm giving Westmeath a good chance here. I know they had a loss to Cavan, but Cavan are one of these teams that also you feel are better than Division 3. I feel Westmeath, they'd want to be beating Offaly. They need to be. They're going to be competing in the All-Ireland series this year. So you can lose to Cavan, because Cavan are a team that will be looking to be doing decent enough in Ulster. Looking to maybe compete, possibly not, but that they'll at least be competing with teams in Ulster. So I wouldn't read too much into Westmeath losing to Cavan there. It was the first game of the league as well. I feel I do like Offaly. I like Offaly's young talent. There's a few exciting lads in there. But I feel like Westmeath should be winning this. And I think they will. But this is a very important for Westmeath to do well in this. You'd want to see Westmeath getting top 3 in Division 3. If not, then you're looking at them going to the All-Ireland series and thinking these lads are going to just be the whipping boys. And I feel like they're a lot better. They're a lot better than that. I feel like they're a lot better than that. They're pretty high. You see Leinster and you have the Dubs on top, and then you might have Meath and Kildare as second and third, kind of switching around, not close to Dubs and Westmeath is 4. But I think you can actually nearly put Westmeath in with Meath and Kildare in Leinster. I feel like they should be better, and they can be better as well. So I do see Westmeath winning this, and if not, then the alarm bells might start ringing a small bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Westmeath have to win this one to kind of prove that they are All-Ireland calibre, and I am definitely going to go with them to get the victory, but Offaly have looked pretty good so far. The final game then in Division 3 is Cavan against Longford in Kingspan, Breffni Park, and I have to say how much my mind has changed on Longford. I mean, I knew the O'Byrne Cup was a mess, but I was looking at it and saying, Longford won it. Fair enough. Desi Reynolds looked really, really good. They blew Louth away in the final. And I was saying, right, I'm going to give them a chance here. Then their performance against Fermanagh was pitiful. And then they got blown away by Westmeath. And all of a sudden, looking at it saying, yeah, they're not going to win this game either. Like, Cavan are going to beat them. It's in Breffni Park. And then that's 3 defeats in 3 games. And I think staring down the barrel of relegation.
I completely agree with you. There's not too much to say here. That, like, Longford, they bet Meath, or they drew at Meath actually through a last-minute score from Meath, but we're on top of that game, the O'Byrne Cup. And I know it's the O'Byrne Cup, but still, to the smaller teams, it is important because on where you want to finish in the league. But their two first games have been very, very poor. Now, look, there's been a week break. They've been able probably to reassess and be like, lads, this is where we're going for. Cavan, though, that's definitely not the most ideal. After you had 2 losses, you had a break, and you're trying to get focused and be like, lads, this is our chance now to get back in it. We have a weekend off. We still have a chance here. And then you go and play Cavan in Breffni Park, where it's not looking good for them. It's not looking good for them at all. So yeah, I would agree with like Cavan to win this. Longford probably afterwards will be the favourites to go down as well in Division 4.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that's Division 3 wrapped up. Moving into Division 4 now, the first game that happens on Saturday, Wicklow against London. This one is in Ockram. And if you're Oisin McConville, fresh off the back of, 2, winless games, obviously they drew with Carlow and then obviously losing, I think it was to Sligo, and that was in Ockram. He needs a win. London coming to Ockram, that has to be a victory for Oisin McConville. He needs to get a bounce out of his team. This has to be a Wicklow victory. I'm going for them to win it, but they have to win it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. The fact that it's in Ockram, like, that is one of the worst places to go in the country in terms to play a football game. There's been plenty of times that I'd say you could be in Dublin. You could be Dublin and be sunny, and then you go to Ockram and be in the rain and the wind and the wet. I feel I actually wouldn't. I wouldn't step off London as much.
Oh, the Wexford game, they drew with them.
Yeah. Like, they're not the worst team. Apparently, apparently there's a few lads that are high quality ballers. Now, I do think Wicklow will win this. The fact that it's in Wicklow, but London, I don't think they're going to be. I don't think London are the worst team in this division. So yeah, I would go Wicklow to win this as well. I'd agree with you. The fact that it is in Wicklow, and McConville does need something now. They've had a draw and a loss. They'll have this. They had that weekend break that we were talking about, and they'll be able to be like, okay, lads, this is something that has to be done. It has to be a win.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look at last year. London beat Leitrim. They beat Waterford. They showed serious pedigree, and then they were even being tipped as potential dark horses for promotion before obviously the wheels came off. So yeah, Wicklow should not take this game lightly at all. The team that beat them last week, Sligo, they host Waterford in Markovich Park. Waterford defeated by Leitrim in the opening game, then obviously losing to Carlow. And that one was at home, going away to Markovich Park. Now a Sligo side chasing promotion. I see nothing but a Sligo win here.
No, I completely agree with you. Like, I think Sligo have a bit of good young talent coming up as well, or they've young talent in the county anyway. I feel, and I don't mean to be mean, but I feel like Waterford are actually probably the worst team in the Allianz League, unfortunately. And I like Waterford, they're a good hurling county, but I feel it doesn't seem that they're going anywhere at all. It nearly seems like they're going in the same route as Kilkenny, nearly focusing completely on the hurling. But I agree with you. I feel bad in a way as well, but I think Sligo are going to be winning this. It's Sligo are going to be looking to get out of division into Division 3.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think Sligo take this one. The next one then, Wexford against Leitrim in Wexford Park. Obviously, Wexford drawing with London in Wexford Park. Leitrim, on the other hand, Andy Moran, back-to-back wins. Good start to Division 4. I'm going with Leitrim to carry on that trend. I'm going with them to get the victory.
I agree. I think Keith Byrne has been very, very good. He's the top scorer in the whole league. I should have checked the score. He scored 110 in the first game. I think he got 1-7 in the second game. I think it's around 217. I'm probably wrong here. I feel Wexford, looking at Wexford does make me sad. Wexford, like over the years growing up, playing Wexford, I'm sorry for turning this live stream into a Meath thing, but just going off personal experiences, going down to Wexford Park and having some very, very good games and Crow Park or wherever. And it makes me a bit sad seeing Wexford all the way down to Division 4.
Sure, all Ireland semi-finalists since 2008, like.
Yeah, outrageous. Like it's
and
not good, like,
they should have beaten Dublin in 2 consecutive Leinster finals, 2011 and 2012. Both of those games, I think Wexford should have won.
Yeah, that's only just a small bit over a decade ago, and now they're in Division 4, and it's not like Cavan a couple of years ago where Cavan ended up just falling and we're in Division 4, and that did happen, didn't it? And it's not like that. It's like they're a Division 4 team and they're staying a Division 4 team, and they don't really look like they're going anywhere at all. But yeah, Leitrim are looking very good. So under Andy Moran, so I do think Leitrim takes the win here as well.
Yeah, agreed. The last game then, Carlow against Laois in Netwatch Cullen Park. So Carlow have home advantage for this one. Laois, though, that did not seem to bother them. They went away and beat Sligo, and then beating, obviously, Wexford in O'Moore Park, Port Laois. Billy Sheehan, his first season with Laois was, in turmoil, like Wicklow putting 5 goals past them in the Leinster Championship, relegation from Division 3. This season, though, he's looking like he's getting it right. I'm going with Laois to win this one.
100% agree. Like Laois, I think are the favourite, they were the favourites at the start to get promoted from Division 4, and I think they will. I think they're one of the sides that are looking kind of the strongest and probably shouldn't be there where they are. So not too much else to say. Only that Laois win, and I'd predict Laois to win the division as well.
Yeah, no, completely agreed. So that is the complete roundup. That's the complete preview of round 3 of the Gaelic football matches, which will take place in the Allianz Football League in 2023. Do check out the GAA Room if you have not. They're producing content now at a rapid pace. Seán, thanks very much for coming on today.
No problem, Seamus. Thanks for having me. Small bit daunting at the start with all these games, but I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks, guys, for giving us your time. And until the next one, take care.